What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip once again with another video, and let's talk about my favorite Spider-Man, Kamen Rider Demons, because I don't have anything else to talk about since there's nothing special happening. As of this recording, there was no Kamen Rider Revise, no superhero time actually, so sad life. But anyways, let's talk about him once again. And this time about the other vice stamps that he uses. So apparently he's going to be the one using the Bata vice stamp, which I thought would be used by George Karisaki if ever he becomes a Kamen Rider. But okay, so let's say George is going to be this Cobra rider. That's fine. So anyway, uh, what I'm seeing here is that all the vice stamps that Demons is going to use are based on Showa Kamen Riders. And actually, Bandai has already announced three more vice stamps that are going to be used by Kamen Rider Demons. So we have the Mole Vice Stamp, the Turtle Vice Stamp, and the Scorpion Vice Stamps. Now, the Mole Vice Stamp was already seen on TV. So, so far, Demons has already used two of these Showa Rider Vice Stamps. So the first one is the Bata Vice Stamp, and the next one was the Mole Vice Stamp, or let's call it the Grasshopper Vice Stamp. So the Grasshopper Vice Stamp uh, doesn't. So these vice stamps, by the way, sorry, before I continue on. So these vice stamps used by Kamen Rider Demons don't give him new forms, unlike unlike Revi and Vice, and also Kamen Rider Evil. So he doesn't do that. Kamen Rider Demons, however, gains somehow like weapons instead, or they change parts of his body that become his weapons instead, if that makes sense. Because Kamen Rider Demons doesn't have his own weapon as well. And despite being able to use a Gundiphone in his civilian form as Hirami Kadota, Kamen Rider Demons uh, normally fights barehanded. So to augment this, he uses these Showa Rider Vice Stamps. So going back to the Grasshopper Vice Stamp, we do see his legs transform into grasshopper-like legs, which of course improve his jump, height, and kicking power, as shown when he was fighting off uh, Julio and Ortega by himself. So that's one thing. Now, in the following episode, so we see the debut of the Mole Vice Stamp, which is based on the mole monster from Kamen Rider Amazon, and of course, uh, this Vice Stamp is inspired by Kamen Rider Amazon. So, Kamen Rider Demon's right arm turns into a drill, which of course he uses to attack, but also, since it's a mole, uh, he also gains the ability to dig underground so he can avoid enemy attacks while at the same time sneak up from behind, tunneling to sneak behind and then go for a counterattack. Now, let's talk about the other two vice stamps that were announced and how they are going to be used in the show. So, let's talk about the turtle vice stamp first. So, this is inspired from one of Kamen Rider V3's enemies, so the turtle Destron, or the turtle monster created by Destron, which has a cannon on its back. Now, given that it is a turtle, I do see like two possible uh, capabilities. So one is that a turtle shell would probably form on uh, Demon's left hand or left arm, and he can use it as a shield. Or if we are actually going to follow the monster which this turtle Vistamp was inspired by, he could actually gain a cannon instead, or probably a mix of both. So he gets defense and offense in the same Vistamp, which I think is very neat. Now, Kamen Rider X gives us the Scorpion Vistamp. So yeah, the Scorpion Vistamp comes from Kamen Rider X, and I haven't seen the show, but presumably there is a scorpion-based monster that Kamen Rider X has fought, and that's fine because uh, all the Showa riders or all the Showa rider vice stamps that have appeared so far do have enemies that were based on the animals that are also featured in these vice stamps. Now, if you're thinking of Kamen Rider Ichigo as the grasshopper itself, I think not. Probably we're talking about the Chakra Riders, which uh, technically were uh, like Kamen Rider as well, and they were also based on grasshoppers. So I guess we could go with that idea. Again, if we're following the pattern of these vice stamps being inspired by the villains instead of the actual writers. So again, it would make sense if we take inspiration from the Shocker writers. But nonetheless, uh, it's okay. So yeah, so the Shocker writers, the mole uh, monster that the Kamen Rider Amazon fought, and then the turtle monster that Kamen Rider V3 fought, and therefore the scorpion is inspired by a scorpion monster that Kamen Rider X fought. Now, the scorpion vice stamp. So let's get into that. So, given that it's a scorpion, I'm assuming that the demons will grow a scorpion tail. So, of course, he can use it to protect himself from attacks from behind. And given that it is a scorpion, so he has a stinger that can inject poison into his enemies. So, this tail, we could assume that it could extend and probably be used as kind of a rope, to tie and bind enemies as well, so he can immobilize them and then sting them as probably a finisher. But yeah, that's an interesting ability, and I think for the Scorpion Vice Stamp that would make the most sense. Now, uh, again, so far we don't see any other forms for Kamen Rider Demons. However, I this is already a crazy idea at this point, but I think if we are going to give Kamen Rider Demons an uh, upgrade, so to say, I'm using the quotation marks. So I'm foreseeing a power up form that would function quite similarly to Kamen Rider Birth's birthday mode. So, if you guys remember Kamen Rider Birth from Kamen Rider O's, so especially the birth model that Goto-chan uses, I forgot his name. I only remember his as Goto-chan. So uh, he has like the claw arm, the drill arm. Uh, so he has different parts, right? However, this birthday mode comes from all his weapons being used all at once. So he doesn't actually change a suit, but all his weapons and extra armor are attached to make this new look, or to give them, or not really give it a new look, but uh, probably augment his abilities further. So this is how I see it with Kamen Rider Demons, and I actually am imagining it, like him, like Kamen Rider Demons, his legs becoming grasshopper like, so he can jump higher, and then he can uh, like drill the enemy, uh, while going down using the mole uh, attachment, and then defend using the turtle attachment, and then sting with the scorpion attachment. So if he uses all these four vice stamps at once, so uh, I think that's already, a very powerful uh, form, if you could call it, for Kamen Rider Demons. So without actually changing into something different, not much change in aesthetics, but instead of an actual form, like uh, again, the form changes that Kamen Rider Revi and Kamen Rider Evil use. So you can still uh, fight, or you could still become more powerful without actually changing forms. So that's how I see it with Kamen Rider Demons. uh, am I still making sense here? I hope so. But yeah, I just think it's interesting, and you know what, leave your comments down below. Do you think uh, Kamen Rider Demons is going to be like Kamen Rider Birth in that regard? Instead of having an actual suit upgrade, he just uses all his weapons at once, but still ends up becoming more powerful. Or do you think he deserves like a form change, or a different look? So again, leave it down in the comments. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.